Hello and welcome everyone to episode 2 of Junior Worlds Prep. This is actually the second time I'm filming this, and the first time I filmed it was day 2, but we did have some changes in the program, so I thought I'd rather explain now rather than have to edit the video a lot. But without further ado, let's begin. So we started off with day 1, our sort of leg day, and we did a top single of 275 kilos on squat. This is high bar or mid bar, whatever you'd like to call it. And that was pretty good. And then we did 230 kilos for 4 reps and 3 sets. Definitely starting to up the reps here. After that, we had some flat dumbbell bench, which we did, but yeah, obviously nothing was recorded. If we push on to day 2, that's our chest day, and we had some bench press, a top single of 172.5 at RPE 7. Now, this day, I wanted to try wide grip bench, and originally that sort of day 4, which is today, we were meant to do incline barbell press, but we swapped it around. So I did wide bench then, and it was actually quite good. Felt quite easy, bit different. And then my back offs were 155 for 4 reps and 3 sets. Now, one thing that I did notice is the day after, obviously I had really bad sleep, like a few hours. So by Thursday, after I had a decent sleep, my left wrist started hurting. And I didn't realize what the mechanism I didn't realize what the MOI is, or the mechanism of injury. But it seems like that sort of position like this, going wider, must have started it. And then since I didn't have proper sleep on the Tuesday night leading to the Wednesday, I had no pain. But then I had a proper sleep on Thursday, started hurting, and Friday really started hurting even more. Disregarding that, let's move on to day 3, which is our back day. So we had sumo deadlift. This no top single. We just had back offs of or working sets, 230 kilos for 4 reps, 2 sets. I have noticed that my hook grip, if it's more than like a top single, it can't really handle reps. And for some reason today, the hook wasn't there. Bit of pain, but just weakness in grip. I was doing it, like, for example, I did a rep of 170 with hook and it hurt a lot, and then that took it off, and then I tried double overhand and it flies. But it's all perception, I guess. Now, we made a substitution here for the rest of the program. Usually after I have barbell hip thrusts, I usually do it on the Smith machine over at Bella Vista, but we changed it to a low bar squat. So I actually worked up to a top single of 260 kilos, and that moved pretty easy, like RPE 5 or 6. I didn't put a concrete number on it, but this is sort of where we were in the last time we tried it, where low bar is much easier. I have to do with the moment arm, which funny enough is here, but we have to look at that as a possible option. Now, I did go quite wide, so almost on the collars in terms of grip, and then it was quite low, and I had the racks in. So that's one thing when experimenting, trying to find out what works the most, what I can lift the most weight in. I then had back offs of 200 for 5 reps and 2 sets. That was RPE 6, prescribed RPE, pretty light. Once again, like, the hardest thing on both of these is the unrack and the re-rack. The actual reps themselves, quite easy, but the hardest bit is, the unracking. Now, moving on to day 4, finally doing day 4s again. Last week I didn't do it. I had volunteering. So this week we had some wide grip bench. So this is where we've pushed it in. So now my Tuesday is the normal grip. But the pain, so it's medial wrist, killing me. Absolutely excruciating, especially even with wraps as tight as I can go. and having them ride up a bit higher, it was affecting my reps. I couldn't actually lock the elbow out. You'll notice, I don't think you can see in the footage, but I had to like go just a bit under full lock just because of the position of the wrist. We then had back offs of 140 kilos, 5 reps, 3 sets. Pretty easy, but a lot more unnecessary strain going through the pecs since I couldn't really bring back and use my back as much because of the pain in my wrist. Do I have to halt it? Maybe. Maybe my flat dumbbell bench will be affected. All of those pressing movements. I can't even like weight bear without it hurting. So it's one thing we're going to have to manage. And then the rest of the day, just accessories. So sort of like I did in the last video, I don't want to like cut and cut and cut. I did a little preview of like our weekly nutrition, how we're going, review of last week's, the current review of this week's, and then we did a little physio section, which I'm not sure I'll bring up. Maybe I could cut it from the last one. I blabbered on a lot. I think like 15 minutes of just the physio section. So I probably won't, but let's go through our nutrition and then talk about that. Like anything else afterwards if I need to. So last week's nutrition wasn't the best. Regarding our caloric intake, it was all over the place. We had like a day with 4.7, a day with 4.5, and then the other days under 4,000, which is not bad, but definitely getting consistently. Like I didn't track the Sunday, can't remember what I had on, but I just didn't bother tracking it. And, you know, you can see this with my weight. So I ended on that Sunday at 152.9, and then on this Monday I was 155.7. Plus I had some semi-decent sleep, so there was something happening there. I probably had like 6,000, maybe even 7,000 calories, who knows. Plus my steps are really shit. Those all add up. Now regarding this week's, we're actually looking quite decent. I think we're on track, just around that 4,000 calorie mark. Our carbs, a little bit low, sitting at around 375, where we're aiming for 400. Fats, pretty good, 127, and we have to be below 130. And then our protein has been high. We're sitting at average of 323 grams. Yesterday, monumental day in protein. I had 383 grams of protein, which is ridiculous. And that's just through the food choices I did. So I'll quickly say what I ate to get that much protein. So yesterday for breakfast, I had a Chobani Fit yogurt. For lunch, I have Lashings over at school, so it's a burger joint. So I have like a burger, it's like a peri-peri burger, grilled chicken, nothing fried in the burger, which is good, a little bit of cheese, and then add some chips, deep fried of course. I think it's around 150 grams, could be up to maybe 200, but I count it as 150. And then we have like multiple times a week, our Boost Juice Gym Junkie with 3 whey protein boosters. And that lunch was around 1.5k calories. I think it's 81, 100. It's like 110 grams of protein or something. And then dinner was monumental as well. I had our Porto, a Where It All Began box, which is a double Bondi burger, a little bit of chips, 2 crispy chicken strips. Then I had 4 grilled chicken tenders. On top of that, I went to Woolies and they had some roast chicken breasts like sliced on sale in a packet. And I had 2 containers of that, which is 108 grams of protein for 540 calories. Also low fat, 7.2 grams. Pretty crazy. So it was like 2,000 calorie dinner. And then for a snack, I had also another Chobani Fit. And I had a protein pint double choc fudge ice cream. And that's 305 calories, 30 grams of protein. And the protein's coming from milk protein and whey protein, I believe. So pretty good sources of protein. Everything's coming from like whey protein concentrate, whey protein isolate, from chicken, from all that. And then today we're a bit all over the place. Had a Zinger Stacker box before, but I should be able to balance everything out by the end of the day. Moving onwards from nutrition and onto our world's goals. So we're roughly 3.5 months out. The hardest bit is obviously finding the funding to make it there. Besides that, we can work things out. Training has been going all right. I think, like I've been saying, like I've been talking to Brad, Dan, all that, the muscles can handle it. It's just whether or not the body can. And knock on wood, obviously. Like, it's one thing you have to consider when you're talking about nutrition and keeping the body ready and together and intact. So that's one huge thing. Now, if we look forward at content, I was over at the U-Bar with a mate the other day, and one of the things is focusing on possible podcasts. I brought it up as a joke, having him as a co-host, but I think if I was to get anything off the ground, it would definitely be to have a co-host of some sort, just so we're bouncing ideas rather than one-on-one. I think when it's one-on-one, it gets a bit messy. I think it's not as entertaining. You can't be joking around. Now, the pilot, maybe I can have it, but other than that, it's something I have to consider. Reels, bit slow. Everything's going to get slow because in the next few weeks I am going to be in exams, and then in around 2-3 months' time, it's focusing a lot on prep for Worlds and clinicals. If I do well this sem, obviously I should be fine. Next semester is a lot of clinical placements, and it's going to be a lot of stress. So we'll deal with that when they come. Really hoping Australian Powerlifting Alliance or the APA gets back to me regarding the invite or accepting of the invitation, or the approval of joining the Aussie team, because I need those documents now. I might send them an email. Obviously, I don't want to pressure, but it's part of it. I need to get them so I can actually be able to go to Costa Rica. Otherwise, if I'm not able to because of academic commitments supersede the athletic commitments at the moment. So that's one thing, a bit stressful. Last thing, physio. So in these videos now, at this sort of the end, I'm going to start adding some physio things that I've learned in the last week, or things that are coming together, things that I'm learning. One of the things that have been coming together is pathophysiology and cardiorespiratory. So as some people know, if you have a cough, you have to produce something. If it's non-productive, then something's happening there. And essentially, you can break down certain impairments into respiratory impairments and then break them down further. So that could be a gas movement impairment, or that could be like a secretion movement impairment. And we break it down, and we've been trying to do the pathophysiology and ingrain that, because there's no use in understanding, oh yeah, it's a secretion movement issue. Well, why is it? Right? And the mechanisms behind it. Because it's very important to understand the mechanisms behind anything. Just like evidence behind treatment. There's no point in doing a treatment on someone if it's known to be useless. Another thing we've been learning, like this week we covered headaches and whiplash. There's over 300 and something types of headaches and causes of headaches, and physios can only treat roughly 22 of them. So it's a good thing to listen and learn, finding out that we don't learn cervical manipulations. That's your sort of chiropractic, like high velocity grade 5 manipulations. Why? Because the research shows that graded mobilizations, moving and getting the spine into motion, that's physio assisted and going through is just as effective, if not possibly more effective than manipulations, just because you're getting actual movement in it rather than the sort of faux pas type treatments. And then also understanding education is always golden, always golden. But yeah, there's many things to learn, many things to brush up, and I think if you encounter a physio that believe that they know everything, run, because every day, every week, every month, there's new studies coming out with the new evidence. 10 years ago, who knows, there was rise of dry needling, and then a few years ago, the rise was like pretty much like becoming a good communicator, and then the rise of using not only acupuncture but then electrostim therapy with acupuncture, like dry needling, and seeing the results of that. And now I just had an assessment task going over knee osteoarthritis, and I found a good article indicating that low-level laser therapy may be beneficial in the long term for those with knee osteoarthritis in terms of adding a protective layer, not layer, but being protective for the osteoarthritic tissues that are already affected. Like, there's constantly, new evidence coming out. And yeah, so I just have to keep learning. And all of this applies to lifting. Everything applies to lifting. Learning new ways, not being stuck in the old ways. Also understanding that stuff like specificity is not needed. The body will adapt. Like we get taught, I think it's 12 to 14 days is a natural course. A lot of people, the argument is they come into your clinic, if they just went the natural course, would they have also been the same 14 days later? Arguably, you could have helped. You have education, but most of the time the human body's going to adapt. So I'll leave that little piece of information for you. Not saying physio and a lot of other treatments are a bit BS, but understanding that education goes a long way, understanding more about your body goes a long way, and also understanding that sometimes a lot of those manipulations don't hold the benefits or effects that you believe they do. Maybe part of it is pseudoscience. Maybe it's more like a placebo effect rather than a physical effect, but obviously I can't throw out radical claims. Those are just some of my beliefs, and yeah. So look, I'll leave you guys to it. Comment anything, especially if you disagree. I love criticism. I love other people's opinions, like being able to acknowledge them. But yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next video in episode 3. And hopefully we start lifting a bit more weight next week. See ya.